Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, thank you to the Indic Research Forum for the wonderful invitation. Always very happy to be with you. I've been asked to speak about Al-Qaeda and Daesh/ISIS in the MENA region. And let me start with saying since 2021, both for Al-Qaeda as for the Islamic State, this is a story of success, but not a story of success in the MENA region. So if you look at the global network, it's hardly ever been better for them. If you look at the MENA region, it is more of a story of what is the identity and how can the brand be maintained. So let me start with Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, since the death of Zawahiri, has a serious leadership problem. Saif al-Adl, who is the not yet announced officially, but considered to be his successor, is again having two major problems. The same problems that Zawahiri had, that he is an Egyptian, and the second one, that he is currently apparently in Iran and under the control of the Iranians. Why in Al-Qaeda homeland or heartland in the past in Afghanistan, while many of the Al-Qaeda fighters, and there are quite a few Al-Qaeda affiliated groups in Afghanistan, including the Islamic movement in Uzbekistan, the ETIM, the Uyghur movement, or Turkestan Islamic Party is the other name of them, plus a couple of others, are integrated as special forces within the Taliban special forces, and therefore at the moment still quite effectively controlled, so that at the moment Al-Qaeda in its heartland doesn't seem to be having any ability to operate freely in the way that it did prior to 2001. But it depends on how you assume the relationship of the Taliban with Al-Qaeda going forward is going to evolve. In addition, if you look at the MENA region, at the moment, Al-Qaeda lacks in the region a strong identifiable affiliate. Of course, there is a discussion whether or not Huras al-Din is the new Al-Qaeda in Syria. There is still, I think, a very valid discussion on the exact character of what Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which came out of Al-Qaeda, is concerned, and how meaningful and sustained this separation that was done between the Nusra Front before it became Hayat Tahrir al-Sham is actually going forward, because there are still a couple of foreign-ties fighters within HTS, including about 40 German nationals, which begs the question, what does a national Syrian group want with 40 German foreign-ties fighters among its ranks? But the big brand management issue that Al-Qaeda at the moment is facing is that it is the area of success, the area where Al-Qaeda can demonstrate relevance, control over territory, and income stream has distinctly shifted to Africa, and here to both coasts of Africa. You have on the west coast in West Africa in Sahel, Jenin, the coalition of various Al-Qaeda groups that is in control of large swathes of Mali at this point, so much so that there is a growing competition, including competition fought by arms with the ISIL affiliate in the region. And on the east coast, you have Al-Shabaab, and everyone that I know is very attentively looking towards Somalia and what is going to happen after ATMIS, the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, is withdrawing. The withdrawal is set for December 2024. And looking at what we heard from the government of Afghanistan prior to August 2021 about breaking the Taliban's backbone in 2021, we have similar statements from the Somali government saying now this is the year in which Al-Shabaab is going to be defeated. And I'm slightly nervous that we are visibly going into a similar situation where an Al-Qaeda affiliate could take over the country. This is where the relevance and success story of Al-Qaeda lies. Now, in order to understand why this is a problem, because you could argue if the global network as such is successful, why would that be a problem, in my opinion? It is a problem because Al-Qaeda is a very internally racist organization. So not just terrorist, but there is a strong discussion, or there was a strong discussion when al-Zawahiri as Egyptian was taken over, whether his Arabness is sufficient to lead Al-Qaeda. Now, if you have a leader under the control of a Shia regime who happens to be Egyptian, but the success actually being provided to the global network and the relevance of the global network being provided by JNIM and Al-Shabaab, who both are African-dominated Al-Qaeda affiliates. Sooner or later, the leadership question and the question of what is the brand of Al-Qaeda will have to be asked, because it is its most prolific affiliate as far as overseas operations. The trademark of Al-Qaeda is concerned, AQAP, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen, has been diminished or hemmed in by the civil war in Yemen and has not been able to point to a successful overseas operation for quite a while. So the question will be, what is the character of Al-Qaeda? Is it going to be a more African-dominated operation? How much of its actual brand, that is overseas operations against US and European targets, will be maintained? Is there going to be a moment where the consolidation of JNIM or Al-Shabaab in both sides of the coast of Africa is going to be sufficiently strong that these organizations begin then to think about developing external attack capability? Will the relationship with the Taliban evolve over time, and we again have a situation where they're not only protected by the Taliban but also allowed to conduct overseas operations? And I just wanted to mention in brackets, the Taliban are already allowing TTP, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, which according to the United Nations Security Council is also an affiliate of Al-Qaeda, to conduct significantly more operations in Pakistan and shelter those fighters in Afghanistan. So what is going to be, what is Al-Qaeda going to be, and what it is his future, the organization's future in the MENA region, is at the moment, I think, the key strategic questions that, if you're all lucky, hopefully will lead to some rifts within the overall branding of the network going forward. For the Islamic State, the MENA region, again, it is not a particular success story. Yes, the Caliph of the Islamic State still resides, and there's every time a Caliph dies, another name is invented. At the moment, I think the going name is Abu al-Hussein al-Qurayshi, so they must be really getting desperate that they find enough Qurayshis who are willing to give their names to be the Caliph, because the Caliphs have tended in the last couple of years to have a very limited time span to live in Syria. Here too, the branding question arises very distinctly. Yes, there is Al-Hol camp. Yes, there were arrests in Europe of people sending money to Al-Hol, which has developed into somewhat of an administrative center of the Islamic State in Syria. But the point is, it is an administrative center for the Islamic State in Syria. And all the other important parts were our successes as far as territory is concerned, and the establishment of a quasi-Islamic State again is concerned, as well as where are overseas attacks coming, which is the second part of the branding of the Islamic State, neither one of which is located currently in the MENA region, i.e. Syria, Iraq, or any of the other countries. The external relevance of the network is really provided by two massive affiliates: the Islamic State West Africa province, operating in Nigeria, and the Islamic State Sahel province, operating in Mali and Burkina Faso, and holding a majority of the territory now in Burkina Faso. According to more somber estimates, about 60% of Burkina Faso are no longer under control of the government, while we are luckily only at about 35% of the territory not being under control of the government in Mali at this point, despite the withdrawal of MINUSMA. This is where the Islamic State has, as of the moment, the biggest success, the biggest chance to establish some kind of caliphate-like structure. On the east coast of Africa, the Islamic State Central Africa province is distributed over several countries. Mozambique, Congo, and Uganda have cells, but it's not yet at a moment where some kind of sustained large-scale control over territory and population has been achieved. The external attack capabilities of the Islamic State network globally is provided very clearly by ISKP in Afghanistan, which of course continues to present somewhat of a nuisance. I don't think more than this, and we monitoring this on a daily basis as far as their propaganda output from Afghanistan is concerned. More than a nuisance to the Taliban is not provided by ISKP, but ISKP has made several attempts to, in its usual fashion, instruct attacks in Europe. There have been several cells already arrested in Germany. Most recently, this year, we arrested an Islamic State cell that was instructed by the Islamic State Khorasan province in Central Asia, meaning this is the first time we do have Islamic State Khorasan province individuals posing as migrants from Central Asia flowing into Europe. And in brackets, there may or may not be some strong indications that our Russian friends had a bit of a hand leading those individuals towards Germany. So the external attack capability provided out of Afghanistan, the success provided in Africa, while again, they're looking for who the next Al-Quraishi is going to be. Here too, a bit of a brand problem, because leadership of the brand is claimed by Arabs, while the success and the work and the actual tangible results of the network is provided by non-Arabs. Hence, we would have to see where both brands end up. But I would say we are, in the worst case, in a phase where both networks are going to change the way they brand themselves. And you can see the propaganda output already is dominated by African. There was an even special issue of the Islamic State online magazine last month that just covered Africa. In the best case scenario, this rebranding may lead to some competition over who is giving the instructions and who is guiding the brands within the networks that could be weakening either one of those networks. However, I would also stop my short remarks by reminding everyone that we're always looking for internal fissures. At the end of the day, unfortunately, what tends to happen is that the hate and the resistance against European, Western, Indian values always trumps any kind of internal differences. As I always say, there is a strong competition between BMW and Mercedes-Benz, but they're both in the auto industry. Hence, even though these brands don't like each other, they're not in a deadly death spiral competition as such. And unfortunately, this is where I think more likely this development is going to lead. Thank you so much. That's for my opening statement. And